Around the world, prisons are meant to serve as institutions of correction and rehabilitation. However, in some places, they are known more for their harsh conditions, extreme discipline, and unforgiving environments than for any effort at reform. These prison regimes are infamous for their brutality, overcrowding, lack of basic human rights, and in some cases, outright torture. In this exploration, we delve into 5 of the most difficult and feared prison systems on the planet. Places where survival often depends more on mental and physical endurance than on justice. Buckle up as we take a chilling look inside the walls of the world's toughest prison regimes. Number 5. San Quentin in Marin County, California. There is a notorious prison called San Quentin State Prison, SQ. It has a long and dangerous past that goes back to 1852, when it opened as the state's first prison. San Quentin has been the site of many horrible events, making it an icon of shame. One very scary thing about this prison is that it is home to California's biggest group of men on death row in the United States. The prison facility is on PO San Quentin and covers 275 acres of land. It has been worth anywhere from $129 million to a staggering $664 million in the past. The name might make you think of something holy, but it's actually a sad tribute to Quentin, a Coast Miwok warrior who was caught here during a battle. The history of San Quentin is very dark. The Vibon, a wooden ship, was the first jail in California. It opened in 1851. This ship, which was docked in San Francisco Bay, was changed so that it could hold prisoners. This made the horrible things that were to happen possible. Some inmates from the Barbin helped build San Quentin, including the stone cell block that stands as a grim memory of the prison's violent past. The history of the jail is marked by people like Warden Clinton Duffy, who may have seemed like a reformer on the outside, but San Quentin was a horrible place to be. Inmates were still being beaten, and it wasn't until 1944 that torture was no longer allowed as a way to question people. But there is a glimmer of hope even in this pit of hopelessness. In 1941, the first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous took place at San Quentin. This shows how badly people needed help and healing in the dark. Under Herman Specter's leadership, the prison library tried to offer some hope for redemption. He thought that reading could urge people to be good to others. However, the jail still had a strong smell of violence and brutality. Alfredo Santos, a drug dealer who is currently in jail, painted the creepy murals in the dining hall. They make a haunting background for the harsh reality of life inside San Quentin. Throughout its past, the prison has had a lot of problems, such as being way too crowded and not having enough medical facilities. It even tried an experiment with boot camps that didn't work, which added to the prison's image as a place where people suffer. Recently, in 2020, the prison made news again when a large COVID-19 outbreak happened, showing that it is still a dangerous place to be. In short, the past of San Quentin State Prison is a horrifying story of violence and hopelessness. Its history is a scary reminder of the bad parts of the criminal justice system and a stark warning of the dangers that still exist inside its walls. Number 4. Rikers Island. It is in the East River in the Bronx, New York, and covers 413 acres. Rikers Island is home to the city's biggest jail. Its name, Rikers Island, is linked to danger and despair because it was named after Abraham Riker in 1664, which is a dark event in its past. When it was first built, this island was less than 100 acres, but over the years, it has grown to over 400 acres. This complex is run by the New York City Department of Correction and has an amazing $86.6 million budget every year. It has 9,000 civilian officers working there and another 1,500 civilians handling the 100,000 new prisoners who come in every year. As of 2015, there were an average of 10,000 prisoners on Rikers Island every day. Surprisingly, 85% of these people who are being held are defendants who have not yet been found guilty. Many of them are being held on bail or in prison until their court date. People who have been convicted and are serving shorter sentences make up the rest of the community. This makes the jail a constant source of misery. It's still scary from a financial point of view. One person being held at Rikers Island for 1 year cost the city about $55,659, according to a study from 2021. But the shocking numbers aren't the only thing that gives Rikers Island its bad name. The stories of violence, physical and mental abuse, and mistreatment that are told there are also very real. A lot of attention has been paid to the jail, which has led to many court decisions against the city government. Officers in uniform and civilian workers have been attacked over and over again, often seriously hurting them. In 2013, Rikers Island was named by Mother Jones magazine as one of the 10 worst prisons in the whole country. Violence kept happening, and in 2015, there were a shocking 9,424 attacks in the jail, the most in 5 years. Things got so bad that the New York City Council decided in October 2019 that the building would have to close by 2026. Rikers Island is not just one prison. It is a huge building with 10 jails where local offenders are held while they wait to be tried, while they serve short sentences, or until they are moved to another facility. This area is linked to danger, darkness, and hopelessness, and violence and abuse have stained the city's criminal justice system for a long time. Even though there have been lawsuits and public protests, Rikers Island is still a scary reminder of the dangerous side of the prison system, where chaos rules and inmates' safety is a top priority. Do you think you would take the $10,000 offer to spend the night alone in a Rikers cell? Tell us in the comments, and while you're there, click subscribe to follow the channel. Let's move on. Number 3. La Santé Prison. La Santé Prison, situated in the heart of Paris, France, is a notorious correctional 3. The notorious La Santé prison is located in the middle of Paris, France. It has a scary reputation for being a dangerous and dark place to be locked up. Its name comes from the fact that it is on Rue de la Santé, and its past is full of danger. This jail is one of the most famous and infamous in France. It is run by the French Prison Service, which is part of the Ministry of Justice. It has both VIP and maximum security areas. Along with Europe's biggest prison, Fleury-Mérogis and Fresnes, which are both in the southern suburbs, La Santé is one of the most important prisons in the Paris area. The architect Joseph-Auguste-Émile Vallat planned the prison, which opened on August 20th, 1867, beginning a long history of putting people in jail. It took the place of the Montauban Convent in the 3rd District, which had been a prison since the French Revolution, and was built on the site of a coal market. The House of Health used to be on that spot. It was built on Anne of Austria's orders. In 1651, it was moved to the area that is now the St. Anne Hospital Center. The jail started out with 500 cells, but in 1900, it was expanded to hold 1,000 cells. There is room for up to 2,000 prisoners in these cells, which are 13 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 10 feet high. La Santé is split into 14 groups. There is a horrible link between La Santé prison and the guillotine in its dark past. People were put to death on the sidewalk at the corner of Rue de la Santé and Boulevard Arago. On August 6, 1909, Georges Douar, a man found guilty of killing a child, was put to death here. It was the first execution in Paris in 10 years. This spot has seen the deaths of almost 40 criminals over the years. It was also the site of one of the last public executions in France. Max Bloss was killed on June 2, 1939. He was a thief and killed 2 people. After that, executions in public were made illegal, and the death sentence was left up to the Court of Appeal. During the German rule of France, communists and resistance fighters were put to death at La Santé, adding to the place's dark history. But after they were freed, only common criminals were killed in the jail courtyard. The last people to be put to death by the guillotine were Roger Bondam and Claude Bou, who were put to death for trying to escape while holding hostages. The guillotines that were used for these killings are now kept in the basement of the Fresnes Prison's National Center for Guidance. This marks the end of a very bloody era. People became very interested in the prison in 2000 when its head doctor, Vonnik Wasser, wrote a book about how bad it was, which led to an official review by Parliament. Then, in 2014, La Santé closed for major repairs, which showed that it was trying to move on from its troubled past. Number 2. Carandiru Penitentiary. The Carandiru Penitentiary, a name that gives you chills, is a scary part of the past of prisons, especially in Brazil. It shows how bad it is when prisons are overcrowded and not cared for. Carandiru was built to meet the standards of the 1890 Criminal Code. By the end of the 20th century, it had turned into a nightmare. When the jail was at its busiest, it had an unbelievable 8,000 inmates, and about 1,000 officers tried, but failed, to keep order inside those huge walls. The conditions were terrible. Prisoners controlled every part of the jail blocks, and there was a lot of poor nutrition. There wasn't much medical care, and people who got sick or hurt were often treated without painkillers. For years, the chief medical director wouldn't go into the jail because he was so scared for his life and health. To make things even worse, most of the prisoners had HIV or other diseases that are easily spread. There was a terrible jail riot in 1992 at Carandiru Penitentiary that ended with the deaths of 111 prisoners. As the riot grew, talks with the prisoners were stopped and military police were sent to storm the jail. The results were terrible, and even prisoners who were freed were put to death. The way this situation was handled made people in Brazil very angry. Colonel Uberti Tangaras, who was in charge of the operation, was given an unbelievable 632 years in jail. He had several mistrials, but he was finally freed in 2006, but was tragically killed soon after. Famous Brazilian doctor, Dr. Dio Varela, wrote a book about his time as a volunteer doctor at Carandiru from 1989 to 2001. This was the first time the world saw how horrible things were inside the jail. His story was read all over the world and was later turned into the highly acclaimed movie Carandiru, which was directed by Hector Babenco. The book and movie changed people's minds, and in the end, the jail was torn down in 2002. In the last part of the Carandiru Penitentiary, which has been turned into a public museum, the prison's history lives on. The scary past of the Carandiru Penitentiary is a somber reminder of how dangerous it is for prison conditions to be left alone, and how terrible the results can be. Number 1. La Sabaneta. the inmates of Number 1. La Sabaneta jail, often call it Vista Hermosa. It is a scary symbol of danger and chaos in Venezuela's jail system. Vilma Brito, who his friends call Wilmo, is in charge of it. The prisoners, on the other hand, just call him Pran, making him the clear leader of one of Venezuela's worst prisons. Outside of La Sabaneta, the Venezuelan National Guard keeps a close eye on things. But inside, the prisoners live in their own world, where the rules of society don't apply. In 2013, Brito himself let photojournalist Sebastian List and a co-worker into the jail without anyone else being there. During their week-long stay, they found a makeshift society that was a lot like the one outside the jail walls. Brito is currently in jail for kidnapping and murder. He thinks that his leadership of the 1,400 prisoners at Vista Hermosa in the state of Barinas is more humane than that of the prison officials in Venezuela. Overcrowding, inhumane living conditions, and widespread corruption in the country's jails have drawn attention to the people in charge of them. Gangs are very active, and the Venezuelan Observatory of Prisons reports that 591 prisoners died in 2012 because of it. The issues that Vista Hermosa has are typical of those that jails in Venezuela face. In the 1950s, it was built to hold 650 prisoners, but now it holds more than twice that number. Fighting between inmates and guards is now common, and things are getting worse instead of better. An ex-champion fighter named Vilma Brito and his group took over Vista Hermosa by force in 2005. Drug use and crime are still going on, but they are carefully controlled by Brito's rule. Brito says that they have at least some peace and met the basic needs of people living there. Going to Vista Hermosa during the allowed hours is like going into a busy slum. Outside, people sell DVDs, medicines, and snacks, while loud techno music plays in the background. There are plazas for dancing, a formal ballroom for parties, and places where women and children visiting can walk around openly. With its own subcultures, the prison is a reflection of society as a whole. For example, Christian preachers called Varones live and pray together. Prisoners who are serving time for sex crimes are kept separate, and gay prisoners have a safe place to live where they won't be bothered. Vista Hermosa shows what life is like in Venezuela in general. There are times of family and joy, but there are also times of violence and despair. Addicts gather in rows to smoke and sleep, their bodies wasted from drug use. For men who have been accused of sex crimes, they are kept separate from the other prisoners. There is also an internal prison called La Gorilla, where prisoners who broke Vista Hermosa's unwritten rules are kept under armed guard. Prisons like Vista Hermosa could not survive without the help of dishonest officials who let drugs and weapons come in. These officials make a lot of money from illegal activities and the taxes that inmates pay to Brito. The fact that Brito says they need guns to protect themselves from the National Guard shows that he agrees with this. Of the jails on this list, which one would be the easiest for you to finish your sentence if you were sent there for a crime you committed? Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video on the 5 most difficult prison regimes in the world as eye-opening as I did. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more videos, and drop a comment with your thoughts or any topics you'd like to see. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious, and we will see you in the next one.